I'm looking for a solution. This is why I bring somebody today. Tomorrow I kick him out and bring another person.
And here in the South, we have no political detainees. What we have in the prisons are criminals who are charged.
I now invite His Excellency Dr. John Garang Dimabior, Chairman of the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement and Army, SPLM, SPLA.
Ladies and gentlemen, finally, the Parliament of the Republic of South Sudan has amended or approved the amendment of some of the articles that were restricting an elections to be conducted in the Republic of South Sudan. So yesterday on Wednesday, the 1st of July, 2026, the Parliament of the Republic of South Sudan has finally amended some of the articles in the revitalized peace agreements that would stop the country from conducting an election. So we all know that South Sudan is currently being governed by the revitalized peace agreement, which was a consensus or an agreement made by different political factions which were aggrieved in the conflict that emerged from 2013-2016. So all these political factions came together and they made an agreement and agreed on some resolutions that they believe would govern the country going forward, as the country is still in the transitional period. And according to the peace agreement, an election would only be held in the Republic of South Sudan when population and housing census has been conducted, and second, after a permanent constitution has been met. These were some of the requirements that are needed for an election to be conducted in South Sudan. But the making of a constitution, the making of a permanent constitution is not a simple thing. It requires lots of legal mind, it requires time, it requires resources, it requires consultation, and perhaps that may take long. So the government side, which is the SPLM side, has all along been arguing that the country need to do away with some of these obstructing articles in the revitalized peace agreement, especially the one that restricts the country to having a permanent constitution and population census before having an election. So they want to get rid of these two provisions in the revitalized agreement. But this has been a very hard task. It has been a pull and push for the government and the opposition and some of the international communities. They are saying that since the revitalized peace agreement has stated clearly that these should be the requirements, then the government must meet these requirements before conducting an election. But the government side is saying, you know what, this is going to take long. So we want to get rid of this. We want to amend the revitalized agreement so that we can have an election held even without having a permanent constitution and without conducting a population and housing census. So the Electoral Commission played its role and tried to announce the date for the election and is now doing civic education across the country. But one of the major issues that has been an obstacle and pending that could not easily allow the Electoral Commission conduct an election is this legal inconsistency, where the agreement wanted the country to first attain a permanent constitution and conduct population census before conducting an election, which is not under the jurisdiction of the National Election Commission, but rather the signatories to the peace agreement. So all along, the government had been in their need of amending that peace agreement. But the government has been facing a lot of opposition from the opposition parties like the SPLM, IO, and some of the international communities, but also the bodies that were tasked with the implementation of the peace agreement, like the RGMEC. So according to the peace agreement, for any amendment to be made into the revitalized peace agreement, it has to be approved by 2/3 of the Council of Ministers, which is the cabinet, which is composed of signatories, members of the signatories to all the peace agreement. And it has as well to be approved by 2/3 of the RGMEG, which is the body constituted with the mandate of supervising the implementation of the peace agreement, and then ratified by Parliament. So all along, opposition MPs have been saying that the government is not following the right procedures as is stated in the peace agreement. The government, of course, has attained the approval of the Council of Ministers, but RGMEC has not been behind this. They're not supporting the approval. They're not supporting the amendment of the constitution, the revitalized peace agreement. And this has been, giving it, a little bit hard time for the government and for an election to be conducted. The Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, then Michael Makuelwe, presented the amendment bill in Parliament, and then opposition members of Parliament just walk out. Some boycotted it. They say that the government is not following procedures. But yesterday, finally, this amendment has been made. So the peace agreement, or the revitalized peace agreement, has finally been changed. Not the entire agreement, but some of the articles, some of the provisions that would actually restrict the country from conducting an election. Like number 1, conduct of a population and housing census, and obtaining a permanent constitution. From now henceforth, the peace agreement now does not restrict the country to conducting an elections after attaining a permanent constitution and conducting housing and population census. That means South Sudan can now go for an election. Now, yesterday was Wednesday, the 1st of July, 2026. Parliament had a sitting and the amendment was done. The revitalized peace agreement has finally been changed. That means elections can now go ahead and be conducted, or the National Election Commission can now go on and start the voter registration and release the voter register and start declaring the election roadmap, and people can now go and start registering as voters and people aspiring to be maybe members of Parliament or governors. This is now going to happen. Perhaps in the next few days, we are going to see that people are going to get out and started acting in a way that shows that the election is going to happen in the country. So this has been the only obstacle, the legal inconsistency where the revitalized peace agreement requires a permanent constitution and the conduct of population census has been the only pending obstacle that has been restricting the country from conducting an election. But yesterday, this has been met. The way for election has been cleared yesterday. Though there were some opposition from opposition members of Parliament regarding the procedures that were followed in amending the peace agreement, at the end of the day, the majority of the people agreed that they amend the revitalized peace agreement. And according to information coming out from the leadership of Parliament, they are saying now the country is going to go ahead, the National Election Commission is going to go ahead, and the Political Parties Council is going to ensure that political parties start participating in this activity that is ahead of us, which is the election. So starting from this month, which is July, and we're going to see a very active political environment in the country. People are going to be very engaging in political activities across the country. Campaigns, political rallies are going to start very soon, and regional tours or county tours by those aspiring to be governors. It is going to start because the way has been finally cleared. That's it. So the government, of course, has been very behind this move of wanting the country to conduct an election, but the opposition, like the SPLM-IO, has been against it. But at the end of the day, the Parliament approved. The amendment has been done. The path for an election has been cleared, and the country is going to go for an election. That appears to be the final decision. So that is it, guys. Elections are finally going to happen, and the Electoral Commission announced last month that it is going to happen on the 22nd of December 2026. We're going to have the elections done on that very day. What do you think, guys? Write down in the comment section, and until next time, I'm Emmanuel Taban, and this is the Concern Podcast.